Welcome to the Courage to Be podcast with Tanya Vasallo. Before we get into this episode, I want to share with you that I'm on a mission to close the gender gap in the podcasting world so that more and more women's voices are heard. If you feel that this is something you value too, then please rate, review, and share the podcast. And in exchange, and as my way to say thank you to you, I want to give you free access to my signature course called Manifesting Abundance, which typically sells for $997. All you have to do to gain access is leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, take a snapshot of it, and send it to help.thecouragetobe@gmail.com, and we'll get you set up with access to the course. Welcome back to the Courage to Be, where we have powerful conversations to transform your life and your business. And we are continuing in today's episode with Ericka Kelly. She's a best-selling author, a CEO, the owner of Ericka Kelly Enterprise, and she's an accredited independent executive trainer, professional speaker, leadership coach with a wealth of expertise and knowledge. She's got a background as a senior special agent from the Department of Justice and Homeland Security and multiple operational missions and deployments as a combat veteran. She was honored by the United States Congress for the contributions to national security. And Ericka holds multiple certifications in human behavior, diversity, equity, and inclusion, communications, and leadership skills, as well as a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and a master's in business administration. She is just a full package for you. And I am so excited to have Ericka back and share with us today, Ericka.
Hi, Tanya. Hello, everyone out there. I am so excited to be back. And I'm looking forward. Some of your questions before were a little deep. So I'm looking forward to your questions and see what we can give and how we can serve your audience.
No, this is fascinating. I do like the deep questions because that's how we can get to know other people, and like what their journey and how they got to where they're at. So tell us a little bit what you do in this day and age. Like, what is your main business? And you can summarize a little bit. If you want to hear the deeper story, you can go back to our previous episode.
Yeah, I think that as we were talking about a life journey before, I continue that on. So let me share this. In the Air Force, I did 32 years, active duty and reserve time, which allowed me then to serve for the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland as what it's called a criminal investigator or special agent. So I am at the end of those 32 years, maybe 2 years before my retirement. I'm planning and I'm thinking, I'm being very intentional, Tanya. So hear me, everyone out there, be intentional. I was very intentional on what was coming next because the uniform was coming off. The badge was coming off. So what I did is I started looking. People are my thing. People are my it. So very quickly, I found a transition to another family. The military had been my family, law enforcement, my very unique family. I needed another family. I got certified as a speaker, coach, and trainer under Dr. John C. Maxwell. That was my first step to transition into doing something else out of a normal, if I can call it normal government job, a normal career. And that gave me the tools to start my business as a coach, as a speaker, and also as a leadership trainer. Now, I continue again, and I preach this, I highlight this, I should say. Have proximity to the people that you want to be like and model their behavior. So intentionality, proximity, and modeling. And so I started my business in 2019. That's when I retired from the Air Force. And shortly after that, I retired from Homeland. And I've been a coach and a speaker and a trainer since then. And talk about living my purpose. Tanya, I have found my it. I have found what I was created for, and that is to be a coach.
That is amazing. Do you feel that coaching was there along the way? I mean, because like for those of you that have not listened to the previous episode, I highly suggest that you do. She talks to us about being abandoned by her mom, at age 5 and with 2 younger kids, and not just abandoned, but locked in a little shed in Guatemala. And then at age 12, having to walk 1,500 miles to get to the US. And then, I mean, I'm not going to summarize the whole story so that you go and listen to it, because Ericka's story is fascinating. So to me, the question that you've left the Air Force, you've been there for 32 years, you know that retirement's coming, you set an intention, and you have this tenacity and this persistence of, I see the common thread there, like that decision that you made when you were 16 to continue your education, to continue exploring, like, yes, you have the tenacity, yes, you have the persistence, but I think there's some deeper qualities in you, Ericka, and correct me if I'm wrong, of that curiosity of wanting to learn more, to get yourself educated. And now you're here coaching people. Do you think that was there the whole time, just like connecting with people? Because one of your fortes too is communication, and you specialize in these things. Talk to us a little bit. How can we learn to communicate better? How can we connect deeper, with other people around us?
Yes, thank you for the question, Tanya. For me, if I can share my journey with you and your audience, in order for me to communicate better with people, I needed to be true to myself. Yes, in the last episode, I shared a little bit of my story, but I hid that story. I was embarrassed of that story. I mean, now we're talking about it, but I hid it. I was ashamed. I didn't want people to know, period. And not until I was able to say, stop, stop, tell your story. That's one. Listen to people's story behind the superficial words that they're giving you. Listen at a level 3. And if I can just go into teaching mode for a second, right? Level 1.
Please do.
Yeah, level 1 is just the words. Level 2 is you're understanding the meaning behind the words. But level 3, listening, everyone, is when you sense something. When you can say, Tanya, I know you said this, but I'm sensing something deeper. And when we get to that level of listening, then we are truly present in the conversation. We are really giving ourselves to that individual, and not just communication taking place. It's communication and connection, right? I say it day in, day out. We communicate all the time, but very few times do we connect with people. Very few times do we come together and there's this trust that cannot be broken because of the connection that you and I have made. One key component before I leave this: forgiveness. Tanya, you want to communicate better? Forgiveness. Forgiveness of you, right? Whatever you carry about you, give yourself grace and forgive. For me, I had to forgive my mother, the woman that, yes, abandoned me, kicked me out at 16, was not a good role model, and on and on. I can have a long list, but not until I was able to see my story from her perspective. Huh? I shared my story last time from my perspective, but not until I was able to see it from her perspective did I not then was able to forgive, communicate, and connect. From my perspective, this and this and this and that happened. From my mother's perspective, she was 15 when she got pregnant with me and married to a 16-year-old boy. By the time she was 18, she had 3 children. By the time she was 19, she was separated from a 20-year-old, still a young boy. When she left, she was only 20 years old. She was in a third world country, extreme poverty, looking for survival. That was her reality. When she locked the door from the outside, she never thought it was going to take 7 days for someone to find us. She was just creating distance because she knew that her family would say, you need to stay and take care of this kid. So she made the journey to the United States by herself, met a good man, married him here, and had a daughter. And years later is when she got back to find us. Was she still full of self-limiting beliefs? Of course. Was she perfect? No. But man, knowing the story from her perspective allowed me to put mine in a different phase of understanding, a different phase of being able to communicate. So communicating is about us being able to walk that extra mile, because that's what we have to do. We have to walk the extra mile and find out not how we want things to get done, but how the person that we're trying to connect needs us to be present.
That is amazing that you're able to see that from her perspective. At what age or how did you come to that conclusion? Or when did you have your conversation with your mom to understand her story? Because it takes a big person with a big heart and with a big self-awareness to be able to see that. And you just taught us something beautiful. So for anyone that's listening, if you're having a conflict, if you're in any of those places of victimhood, like for me, and it's their fault and they did it, because what I'm hearing when you told that story of your mom is, wow, she could have left you in Guatemala. She didn't need to go back another 1,500 miles and go find her 3 kids that she had left at age 20. She didn't need to go back to Mexico or wherever that small town was where she'd stolen the money from the sanctuary or,
Yes, the little
whatever it was
kiosk.
set up.
Mhm.
Yeah. Which that's in the other episode. So now you're going to have to go listen to the other episode to hear what we're talking about. But I just commend you, Ericka, for your level of awareness. But at what age did that happen? At what point do you forgive her and understand her story? And second part of this question is, at what point did you forgive yourself and understanding your own story?
Wow, Tanya. Well, it's interesting that you say, when did you have the conversation with your mom? So let me tell you, my friend, she, tells me that I need to leave at 16. I do. I am going to high school, I'm working, and I'm still giving her money to help her because it's kind of like a cultural obligation. Mm. But anger's still feeding me. I'm like, right? And then I started learning pieces of the story, not from my mother, Tanya, not from my mother, from other people. But remember, I haven't forgiven and anger's still with me. So I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care that she was 15. I don't care that she suffered. I don't care that, because it was all about me and I like that little blanket of being a victim. It took years. It took years. And it didn't take a conversation with my mother. If I was going to forgive myself and I was going to forgive my mother, I didn't need a story that made sense to forgive her. I didn't need to have an excuse or an apology from her. That's not true forgiveness, right? I'll forgive you when you apologize. That doesn't work. And so I forgave my mother without knowing the full story. I didn't need it. I didn't need it to free me. And to forgive me, man, I have landed on my face so many times. I just decided to give myself grace. I decided to tell myself that the decisions that I make, good, bad, or ugly, were with the information that I had in front of me, with the level of awareness that I had. So at the time, right, I'm looking back and I'm like, oh my gosh, look what you did then. No, at the time, that's the best decision that I could make for myself to move forward. So that's a daily journey. That's a daily journey, Tanya, of looking at myself and not criticizing, not judging, not looking for perfection. And if I don't find it, then you're not good enough. I mean, that's a daily conversation. But going back to my mother, I didn't need an excuse. I didn't need a story. I didn't need an apology. As a matter of fact, my mom in Vegas started getting very sick and couldn't work anymore. And my forgiveness was tested. And I had to make a decision to have my mother move in with me and for me to be her caregiver, for me to be her caretaker. And I did. And I think that's the biggest gift that outside of my two sons that God has ever given me. The opportunity to showcase love to my mother the best way that I can show it. My mother's paralyzed now after a stroke, and she needs 24-hour care. And I share a room with her because she needs that medical care. Every 3 hours, she needs something. In between myself and my little brother, the little brother that was in that room, the baby that my grandmother went to pick up, he's autistic. So I'm his guardian. So between the two of us, we take care of our mom. And when she had the stroke, I could see the fear in her eyes when we went to the hospital, the fear, like truth. I have felt that fear and I saw it through her eyes. And I just gave her a hug that before I wouldn't. And I told her, you're never going to be alone. We're always going to take care of you. And we love you. And we brought her home from the hospital and she's with us and she's loved every day.
Wow. The more I get to know you, Ericka, I don't have words for you. You just pulling out just such an example of humanity. I mean, you keep using that word too, and you have a heart of gold. Anyone that's in your path, I know is going to be taken care of with you. That you have their back, your sense of loyalty, your sense of caring. Amazing. I take off my hat for that. Let's take a quick pause, and I want to come back to shame and the feelings of shame.
Hi there, I have something really cool for you. I want to give you free access to my signature course called Manifesting Abundance, which typically sells for $997. You can check out all the details in the show notes. All you have to do to gain access is leave me a review on Apple Podcast, take a snapshot of it, and send it to help.thecouragetobe@gmail.com, and we'll get you set up with access to the course. You can also find other free goodies in the show notes. Go check them out.
You talked before about feeling shame with your story and not sharing with the different levels of communication. When we listen and when we tell stories and we tell our story, and you carried that shame for a while until you felt comfortable enough to tell your story. How do we get rid of that shame of our personal stories? Because by us sharing our personal stories, that's how we can help many other people, right? How do we peel away those secrets, that shame, that guilt, or whatever other emotions we might be feeling? How do we get rid of that, Ericka, so that we can connect with people at a deeper level?
Shame is such a deceiving companion because it tells you, right? If shame talks, and it does, right, in its own way, it talks and it says, if you expose this about yourself, if you share this story about yourself, you're not ever going to be accepted by others. Ooh, I'm not going to say it. You're going to be criticized. Ooh, criticism cuts us in half. No, right? People are going to, if you share that story, people are going to take advantage of you. Oh, I don't want that. If you tell that story, guess what happens? You are worthless. They'll move you to the side. That's what shame does. It's just this paralyzing force. And if we get to a point, right, we got to meet people at the level that they're at. And if people are at, let's say, a level of just instinct, a level of just reacting instead of responding, a level of anger, a level of, then that's where we need to meet them. That's where you need to meet yourself. Why am I so angry? Why am I so frustrated? Why can't I listen? Why do people not hear me? We got to stop and know exactly where we are. If we don't know where we are, Tanya, There's no way that we can find a way out. If I'm going to your house, call you. Hey, Tanya, made it to the airport. How do I get to your house? You're going to ask me, where are you? And I'm going to say, on the corner of this and this. Oh, this is how you get to my house. But if you ask me, where are you? I don't know. Very difficult. It starts with us, Tanya. It starts with us being able to be courageous, being persistent at understanding that there's something else outside of that. We get stuck. This is it. Can you just tell yourself that there's more? Can you tell yourself that there's light? Can you tell yourself that there are good people in the world? Can you tell yourself that you are one of those people? Can you share your story little by little by little, and fully understand that your story will save someone's life, will help someone in their journey, will make you connect with them at a completely different level? And are you, my dear friends, going to be criticized? Possibly. Are you not going to be accepted? Possibly, but it's not because of you, it's because of their awareness. It's because of their biases, not yours. Not yours. The minute you start being authentic to you, the minute that you start being loyal to your future, the minute that you start looking at yourself, like literally looking at yourself in the mirror, eye to eye with you, and you say, I love you, then we're moving forward.
Yeah, this is so important to work on our self-love, our forgiveness, going back to forgiveness, like you were mentioning, Erica. On a different note, it seems like you knew from a young age that there was something bigger for you. You had a bigger vision, came from poverty in Guatemala, did that walk all the way to the States. You still focused on the optimism and the positive that you saw around, in your journey. What kind of impact, or why do you think you've been given all the things that you've been, like, why have you been led to where you're at right now? What's been your purpose?
People, I asked that question so many times, Tanya. And I'm having conversations with God, and I'm like, please tell me. But I know it's people. I know. And I could give you a very quick example. When I was a criminal investigator, I worked human trafficking cases. I worked human smuggling cases. So here I am, someone that walked to the United States, working immigration cases. What is that about? But there I was. We were rescuing children. We were rescuing women that had been completely broken in pieces. And there I was, helping them, rescuing them, investigating the bad guys, putting the bad guys in prison. And I didn't know it at the beginning, but the more I did it, the more I'm like, oh, this is why. That's why that happened. And that's why that happened. And that's why that happened. I was able to talk to those women in a completely different way than my peers. When I talked to children, I don't know how they knew, but they knew. Kind of like we know. Like they knew that I knew what they were feeling. And they were able to open up their little hearts, at least just a little bit, to me. Same with the women.
Do you have any stories with those, Erica, that you could share with us of the impact that you've had in the full circle of how that's come back to you? Like, okay, the fact that I walked this journey, or the fact that I, got locked up, for 7 days when I was 5, and then I encountered a 5-year-old, like, is there any parallel that was a full circle for you? Do you have any stories that might come to mind?
Not a full circle that mirrors my journey. Moments of my life, moments of abuse, moments of despair, moments of hopelessness, moments of not being able to even take a breath because it hurts moments. But I can share this with you. I remember this little boy, he was maybe 7, and there's an adult with him, and the adult is claiming to be the parent of this little human. And I look at the little boy, and the little boy says, yes, that's my daddy. And that's awesome. But something, is that intuition, right? Is that gut feeling? Something is not fitting. Should we separate both? And we discover that the man that's traveling with this boy, has a criminal history, has been deported multiple times, and is a known smuggler, right? So very quickly, now we just have to see if truly this little boy is truly his son and not someone that he is bringing to the United States. And a lot of time, a lot of counseling, and a lot of therapists, a lot of agents. And then, so this is the rewarding piece. Just like, remember last time when we talked, I was sharing that gentleman, that Marine, and that human touch. Well, same thing with this little boy. I'm in total silence when everybody's asking him questions or giving him toys or whatever. And I just go in the room with him and I just sit next to him and say nothing. And it's just me knowing his presence and him understanding my presence in the room, right? And this is the reality. It wasn't his son. This little boy had been kidnapped from his parents and put in a warehouse. And in that warehouse, brainwashed of your name is, your name is, your name is, this is your dad, this is your dad, your name is, until he got it, until he was conditioned to say that. And then they make the trip, and then he's sold who knows where here. So we were able to, through silence, through just pure presence, for just a little tear to show up, and for him to accept a hug, and for him to say, I think my name is. It's so hard, but I was able, and I don't want to say because of my journey, but I do want to say because of my journey,
It is because of your journey.
that we were able to find, this child's parents. And sometimes, I don't want to say all the time, but sometimes those people do not have good intentions when they bring little ones to the United States.
This is an amazing story, and the impact that we have as humans on other people, from allowing this kid to reconnect with who he was because of your journey. It is part of your journey. And if you wouldn't have gotten in that journey, if you wouldn't have had that journey, this is how I see it, Ericka. If you wouldn't have had that journey, maybe someone else would have been put into that room and wouldn't have understood it and wouldn't have connected with their own intuition and wouldn't have known this and wouldn't have saved this kid from a different future. That he could have had a different future. On that note, what is your legacy? Like, what's the impact that you want to leave?
Sometimes we are lucky enough to harvest what we have planted in our lifetime. And I was getting ready to retire from the Air Force and also from Homeland Security. And I'm thinking, what legacy is being created here? And not legacy for me, but legacy for my two sons. Because remember, I really don't have any roots, right? The only roots that I have are from my maternal grandmother. So coming to the United States is like, what legacy do I bring? Meh, not a lot, not a big one. So I just realized I am the legacy in the United States. I am the root, right? My sons are first generation. I'm the immigrant. I'm the immigrant. I'm the first. I'm the one that's holding on to that ground and creating a foundation for them. But this is the magic. Moments like that in different cases where, it's not in law enforcement, not everything goes right, right? So you have little sparks of yes, right? Well, in the Air Force, right? 32 years, you mentor, you coach, you lead, and then you retire. I was so blessed. I was so lucky that I got to see the fruit. I got to see my harvest, Tanya. And I continue to see it now. People that I helped over here would call and say, because of you, I'm here. Because of you, I'm doing this. I got to see people get promoted and get specific assignments and do this and I'm looking I promise you, as I'm walking this journey of signing my retirement and doing this, I am looking at everything flourish and all this fruit. And I'm like, I left both of those careers with a full heart because I was able to not build followers to Agent Kelly or followers for Chief Kelly. I was able to build leaders. I was able to empower people to be better than me. And that's what I'm doing as a coach now, which is magnificent.
I love you, Ericka. The more I get to know you, this is fascinating. As we're wrapping up, what would be some tips, communication, but communication with self? We started this episode with, the different levels of listening. How do we communicate with ourselves, communicate better?
Yes, of course. What has worked very, very good to me is silence. Silence and asking 2 questions. Who are you? Who are you, Ericka Kelly? And what are you here for, Ericka Kelly? And in the who are you, sometimes you say, I am a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a this, I'm an attorney, I'm a doctor, and this is what I would ask. Those are labels. Those are titles. Take them off if they come up, okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. And then anything else? No, that's it. Okay. Put them away and truly ask, who are you? What are you here for? Don't listen to this. Listen to this. What are you here for? And very simplistic. Simple doesn't mean easy, right? Simple questions, very deep work that you got to do. Once you have those 2 answers, everyone, take a deep breath, go to someone that you trust, and say, what does it feel to be on the other side of me? And listen. Husband, what does it feel like to be on the other side of me as your wife? Daughter, what does it feel to have me as your mom? Son, what does it feel like to have me in your life? 3 things.
Beautiful. Wow, again, amazing. If you haven't listened to Ericka's other episode, go back. She's fascinating. I so appreciate you for your time, for sharing with us. And where can people find you, Ericka?
Sure. I would love to serve people, right? That's my purpose in life. I would love for people to connect. Just go to my website, erickakelly.enterprises.com. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom of it, sign up. Every day I send a leadership, mentorship, coaching email, short, less than a minute read. And it's just to serve you, just to give you. So go to my website.
Thank you, Ericka. You've had an amazing journey to be continued with an incredible purpose. And I so appreciate you sharing your time and your knowledge with us today.
Of course. Thank you so much, Tanya.
Hi there. I have something really cool for you. I want to give you free access to my signature course called Manifesting Abundance, which typically sells for $997. You can check out all the details in the show notes, and all you have to do to gain access is leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, take a snapshot of it, and send it to help.thecouragetobe@gmail.com, and we'll get you set up with access to the course.